in 2010, before I graduated, it was my last exam, so I did building surveying. And just before my last exam, my wife, who was obviously fiance at the time, said she was pregnant. So I was moving down to BRE.
So she told you at that time, you're just about to do your exam, and she comes to you and says, Jack, we're having a baby.
Yeah, it was a really hard exam as well. It was contract law, so it was not the easiest exam. But I knew I had to do well to push for that 2-1 degree that I got in the end. And she said, Jack, I'm pregnant. So we was moving down to Watford. We didn't have a penny to our name. I've got a pregnant, other half partner, and we had to try and find a house whilst on a graduate salary, which wasn't the best at all.
Pressure's on then, Jack.
Pressure's on. And, Watford and around that, it's not the cheapest place to live.
You're right.
So I had to work hard. I had to work hard, and I had to, crack on, shall we say.
Hello and welcome to the Thriving Construction Podcast. Today we are joined by Jack Brayhaw from Vistry. Jack, great to have you here on the show.
Thank you very much, Darren. I'm glad to be here.
I know that you have got a very varied experience within the construction industry. You've worked and do work for some very large organizations, but just for those people that are listening and those people that are watching, just go through what it is that you do in a little bit of detail just to give people a flavour of who you are.
Yeah, no problem, Darren. So Jack Brayhaw, Head of Technical Innovation at Vistry Group. So that really get involved in the technical side of sustainability. So it's all about the specifications, Part L, Part F, Part O, ensuring that we have those robust specifications to comply with building regulations. Also then look at new products, innovative products and processes that will then help us, continually improve and make sure that we've got the right specifications and right solutions for our customers across the whole business. So it's all about the, our standard specifications, but then pushing that to see what else we can bring in as well.
That's great. That sounds like you've got a really busy job. And as you're saying that you check out things like the new products and new ways of approaching Part L, what I've got in my mind is that people phone you up from time to time saying, hey, I've got a new product or I've got a new approach. Can I speak to you? Is that part of your role?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it is. So we get quite a lot of phone calls, LinkedIn messages, emails, very hard to keep up on. So we've got to try and filter that out. We've got what we'd class as like a new product introduction process. So we look at, key items, if there's anything that's burning at this moment in time, like hot topics associated to building regulations. It could be overheating, it could be Part L, and it's really looking at what we think could come in, what's sensible, and then we'll do a desktop assessment on those products, and then we'll look at trialing those products as well. That desktop assessment would be commercial based, it'd be technical based, it'd be looking at the supply chain and the skills. What does it do in terms of, speeding up the process? What does it do in terms of, adding more value to the customer? And that's when we'll score all these products and then see which ones we think we should be taking forward.
Great. And do you lead that team?
Lead the team.
Yeah.
There's 4 of us in the team, but
Right.
I report into the commercial director, group commercial director. But then we also work really close with the group design and technical director and his team, and also the wider business as well. So whether it's sales and marketing, ensuring that we've got the right kind of, customer acceptance and awareness around these new energy efficiency products, but also the procurement team as well, making sure we've actually got the supply and capacity as well. So we have to work together as a team. And, I think our team, the technical innovation team, kind of gels everything together to make sure that we are focusing on the wider picture.
So forward thinking is your role? Forward
thinking, absolutely. I think it's making sure you can see those icebergs before they turn into problems. So it's really looking at, in making sure that we've got the solutions in place for when we get out on site and we actually start building. So it's a case of making sure we've got solutions and the whole business is aware of certain aspects before we then get on site and start building to them.
So talk to me now about how you think you got here. You don't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to lead this team in. I think they're the country's biggest house builder, right, Vistry?
We're getting there, yeah. So from a volume perspective, we are now, this year it'll be 17,000 plus homes that we build. They're a complete, it's a different, mixed tenure. So that'll be, open market homes, social homes as well.
What do you mean by open market homes and a social home, just for those?
So open market would be your kind of private home. So there's a development happening in your town or village or city, and then if you want to purchase one of those homes, you're free to on the open market. Half of our business, if not a bit more, we seem to be what we are moving towards is that mixed tenure as well. So that's build to rent. It's social housing as well, and making sure that we don't put all our eggs in one basket, really.
When you're saying build to rent, do you mean that you build it and then you rent it out to someone else?
We'll have large clients or partners who will buy a number of homes on that site, and then they'll use them to rent out.
Fine. And these aren't social housing clients, like a social housing provider. You're talking a private client that will come to you and say, I'm looking to add 50 properties to my portfolio. When you're building all of these houses, can I buy 50 off of them straight off a plan?
That could be that, Darren, or it could be the social side as well.
Yeah.
So we have, as I said, it's mixed tenure, so it's both.
All of it. Great. So how did you get to this position? Go back to when you were a young boy. Who is it that you think inspired you to get into either innovation, get into sustainability, or even get into construction?
Very difficult question, Darren. That I think by luck or by crook, whatever you want to call it, but I think to get into in the construction industry, I was working in the summer as a roofing labourer for my uncle.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. And that was obviously, he lived down in Essex, so I was working in London quite a bit.
And where were you living?
In Essex,
you were living in Essex,
near Colchester, right. And I really enjoyed the construction industry. And then I did my A-levels, had enough of academia, shall we say, and decided not to go to university. And then, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, every morning, getting home at 8 o'clock at night, lifting buckets of cement, rolls of lead, tiles, 2-3 stories high all day. After having about 9 months of doing that, I decided maybe I should go back to university. But it was my dad essentially said, Jack, come on, it's time to grow up a little bit and get yourself to university. You're a bright guy, you can do it. I was never an A grade student, but I always had the tendency to work hard. And what I would say is I decided to go to university in the end. I did a HND construction and property at Salford, at the University of Salford. Again, it was my dad who put me towards doing that. I couldn't do a degree straight away because I didn't have the right A-level results. I didn't try hard at A-levels basically. So I did a 2-year HND, and then I jumped onto the second year of a degree in building surveying. So that was in 2006. So I then, it was a fascinating time really within industry, because when we started that qualification, there was 200 people in the lecture theatre, and the main lecturer said to us that only 25% of you will be here at the end of the 2 years.
Okay.
So I was adamant that one of those 25% would be me, because it was a challenge. And so he also told us that when you leave, because there's a big skill shortage and the professional skills will be required, that there'll be companies fighting over you to sign you up essentially, and to give you a golden handshake and to get you on board. And then in 2007, especially 2008, we know what happened. There was a big economic crash.
It all went down.
It all went downhill. So luckily in 2008, I did a summer placement at BRE. I was really lucky to get a summer placement when the market wasn't the best, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, fantastic it was.
What were you doing there?
I was working in the Building Futures team.
Yeah.
And I was working with house builders on process efficiency.
Okay.
So it was all about how we can, build faster, lean construction, look at where the value added is, and work on, it was for Homes England at the time. I think it was English Partnerships, which was a guise of Homes England. And that was about, the design for manufacturing. So it was working on off-site construction, but it was really, working on the process efficiency side. And that was with the Barretts, the Persimmons. There'll be, I think, Crest Nicholson on that as well. So some of the big house builders, which kind of, I suppose, got inside my head to think, well, I do like house building. But yeah, so then I went back to university for 2 years, graduated in 2010. And again, because of my summer placement, it set me up nicely then to go to BRE and spend 5 years at the BRE. Again, working on the process efficiency, predominantly side of things, and resource efficiency, so like waste management and things like that too.
So what was the reason you think that the BRE took you back after that placement?
I must have done something right in my
That's what logic says, right?
Yeah, I must have done something right. I think it's just obviously hard work, I think, Darren. So, you know, I've always been a hard worker. I've never been the brightest button in the room, I'd say, but you know, always put my all into everything that I do. So in 2010, before I graduated, it was my last exam, so I did building surveying. And just before my last exam, my wife, who was obviously fiance at the time, said she was pregnant. So I was moving down to BRE.
So she told you at that time, you're just about to do your exam, and she comes to you and says, Jack, we're having a baby.
Yeah, it was a really hard exam as well. It was contract law, so it was not the easiest exam. But I knew I had to do well to push for that 2-1 degree that I got in the end. And she said, Jack, I'm pregnant. So we was moving down to Watford. We didn't have a penny to our name. I've got a pregnant, other half partner. And we had to try and find a house whilst on a graduate salary, which wasn't the best at all.
Pressure's on then, Jack.
Pressure's on. And, Watford and around that, it's not the cheapest place to live.
Yeah, you're right.
So I had to work hard. I had to work hard, and I had to, crack on, shall we say.
Going back to what you said a minute or two ago about saying that you didn't feel that you were the most academic, or the phrase that you used were the brightest, but actually that what you did is that you worked hard. And I think that's a really important principle, is that just working hard and being consistent in and of itself is a reflection of intelligence. Because the great things that I've seen and that go on in the world and in people's lives happen because someone is willing to be consistent at something, and that thing that they're being consistent in or with is the thing that they're capable of doing. So you compare yourself against someone else and you're like, look, I'm no Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
I'm not an Elon Musk. I'm never, ever going to work out how to get to Mars or figure out a way to live under the ocean or capture all the carbon. That's never going to come to me in my head right now. But my capability is right here, and I'm going to continue to work within that capability and then look to stretch myself as far as I can. And the stretching bit I'm hearing from you is what comes from your partner saying, I'm pregnant. And this is a good thing. I'm assuming it was a good thing, right?
Fantastic.
Great, fantastic. So,
it is now, anyway.
Yeah, so your partner saying that you're pregnant, that she's pregnant, and that you're going to bring another life into the world. You're going to move home, which again is another stretch, and that gets you to focus and say, okay, this is a harder thing than I've ever done in the past, but I'm going to still keep pushing, still keep working, still keep doing. I think that principle is really powerful, Jack, that you just said.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. I think there's different forms of intelligence. I think, being able to deal with people on a personal level, but also on a friendly level and on a work level is a form of intelligence. If you can do that well, I think, being able to find solutions to problems by collaboration and getting people to work together and understanding stuff and thinking outside the box. You can be as technically minded as possible, as you said, the likes of Elon Musk, the likes of Albert Einstein, but there's other skills as well, and there's other forms of intelligence that will help you along the way.
Absolutely. So with that principle then, going back now to when you were maybe 10 or 15 years old, and the pressure was on from an examination point of view, and you're there with your friends at school and your own thoughts in your mind, what would you say to the younger version of Jack?
Or just have more confidence in yourself. I mean, I don't think I believed in myself until I got to BRE, to be honest, and I got that opportunity. I had no confidence. I couldn't present. I couldn't speak in public. Didn't have any confidence that I was, intelligent enough to do anything. I think that would be the biggest advice I could give, is just believe in yourself that little bit more.
That's great advice. And I'm hoping that someone's listening to this podcast that's the parent of a child that was in a similar position to how you felt at that time, or maybe there's a young person listening to this, or maybe even an adult that says, because I don't think it makes too much different the age, right?
Absolutely.
I think it's just the applied struggle. When you struggle and you keep going and you're consistent, then that's where that confidence comes from of, oh, actually, I can do it, when you recognize where you've come from and what you've done.
Agreed. It's a snowball effect, really. You know, once you get that little bit of confidence and you keep running with it, then it'll grow and grow and grow. You just have to start. Just have to start rolling down that hill. I would definitely say that it's that belief in yourself, which is really important, but also being positive, that positive mindset, taking the positives out of every situation, you know, finding that, you know, the silver lining on the cloud and sticking to it, and getting good people around you and getting those, you know, people that inspire you around you as well. That will always help.
Who was around you when you were younger, 15, 16, 17 years old, that was inspiring?
Personally, for myself, I'd just say it was family members, really. I didn't really have any kind of, you know, friends that really inspired me too much. Obviously, I had lots of friends, but we were probably, you know, young teenagers, shall we say, not looking at the big wide world out there, just being young teenagers. So there was nothing inspirational about, you know, those teenage years, but perhaps just family, you know, my mum, my dad, ensuring that they, you know, they always had my back, really.
So then, bringing this then back to, you've just moved to Watford, your partner is pregnant, and you've not got a penny to your name. How did things work out there? You've just been accepted at the BRE and in the innovations team?
Well, yeah, it was a building futures team. So it was all to do with lots of innovations. It was to do with process efficiency. But yeah, we moved into a studio apartment, which wasn't the biggest, really. It was a tiny studio apartment where you could have a shower and, you know, put the kettle on at the same time, which, you know, I wouldn't advise to do, but it's very small, basically. And we thought at the time, myself and the wife to be, you know, we're going to have to, you know, really book our ideas up to get out of here. We can't raise a baby in a place like this. So we did manage to get into a reduced rent apartment, which was newly built, and we loved living there. It was in the centre of Watford. So I then travelled into BRE. I walked a mile and a half and then got on the bus. So I did that every day. Fantastic. You know, working at the BRE was, you know, one of the best experiences I could ever have wished for.
Okay. That's quite a statement there. Working at the BRE was one of the best experiences that you've ever wished for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. What made it that? I mean, that's a big statement.
I think the cutting edge, so working at the cutting edge, it was kind of a great step from academia at university and then getting into industry, because you've still got that research side, that consultancy side, and the research that, you know, that gets carried out at the BRE, having the experts there that you can just talk to, whether it's passing through the cafeteria or the hallway, or, you know, you could be playing football with them at lunchtime and you're picking up all these ideas and things, and that's where the inspiration was, really.
So that's interesting that you mentioned that, because one of the things that I didn't realise initially when I came into the industry is that at the BRE, they've got a football pitch.
They've got a football pitch, they've got tennis courts, they've got a gym. I was manager of the gym for a while there as well.
Right.
Fantastic. So I used to go to the gym before I started work, on my lunch and after work as well at one point. So it was fun. And then I used to cycle home or walk home. So I was quite fit. Not anymore.
But the BRE do that intentionally, don't they? They put these facilities there intentionally to enable you to collaborate not just with your team, but with other departments across the group.
Yeah, the amount of experts there, and, you know, that cross collaboration is so important. It is. I think they must do it on purpose, and I think, you know, that health and well-being side of it comes into it. So making sure that, you know, a healthy mind, you can then work hard, you can be productive, you know, you can be creative in the fields where you need to be. So it was a fantastic work-life balance.
I think also you can have joy, can't you? You can feel that sense of belonging and fulfillment when you go home at the end of the day, or when someone says, "What is it you do for a living?" and you're like, "This is what I do. I love it."
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good.
You know,
so what took you to leaving the BRE then?
Well, I wanted to settle down. You know, I think I mentioned it was about really raising a family, and I thought around that area it's quite a high cost area to live. So I wanted to obviously migrate back up north, and then I got the opportunity to work at Elmhurst Energy. So I took that opportunity, and again spent only a year there, but it was a very
good year.
very interesting, but yeah, very good year as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. They're a good bunch there for sure. And then from Elmhurst, then you moved. Is that when you moved on to Barratt Homes?
I moved on to Barratt, so I spent just close to 5 years at Barratt. And again, because I was in the Leicestershire area and Barratt's head office is in Leicestershire, it was an easy move for myself to go to Barratt, and wanting to work for a house builder back at the time, you know, when I started at BRE, it was a no-brainer for me to go to Barratt. And obviously I knew the team that I was going into at Barratt as well. So again, it was a no-brainer for me to go there.
So you knew them because of the experience that you had at the BRE?
I knew them because of my experience at the BRE. Also, the director of the team that I was in at BRE was going to be my director at Barratt as well.
Okay, that's good. And so is it keeping the same theme when you were at Barratt as well on the future and innovation side of things?
Yeah, future and innovation. So I was the technical innovation coordinator at Barratt.
Okay.
And it was looking at all new concepts, modern methods of construction. It was big at the time. I think we were looking at 3 different systems at Barratt: timber frame, steel frame, and, you know, a story height concrete panel system as well. And it was really about what we can go down. You know, there's double-digit inflation in the sector at the time. There was a skill shortage, so it was really what can we focus on to you know, take the pressure off the traditional trades. And Barratt put a lot of effort into looking at that, and that was a big part of the team on what we did, but also Part L of the building regulations and energy efficiency, and getting our specification as robust as possible. Again, both of those areas what I worked on.
So you mentioned about Part L, and I'm not sure of the timeline exactly when it was that you started for Barratt, but Part L definitely wasn't a major thing going back to 2006 when you were on the roof, and that wasn't really a big thing back then. When did it start to become a significant thing in your job role, and when did that start?
I remember at university, 2007 it would have been, my second year of the HND, and we all had to pick a subject, and someone I knew got Part L. That's all the subject was, and had to do a dissertation on Part L. I mean, I didn't have a clue what Part L was. I had no idea. You know, I was at university.
I don't think you were the only one though, Jack.
No.
Most people in the industry didn't really understand what that stuff was at that time.
And
I mean to what they do now. That's the comparison I'm making, yeah.
And then to go from, you know, learning about Part L at university, and then, you know, applying it in your role at Barratt, and before at Barratt, at Elmhurst, and the other roles that I've had, and then understanding the importance of making sure you've got, you know, a robust specification that can be very complex, because it has a knock-on effect if you take one product out and put another product in, and how it all, you know, goes together. I think it's really interesting, and then, you know, as the Part L 2021 comes in and the Future Home Standard, it's becoming even more important, and it has a knock-on effect to other parts of the building regulations. I think it's really interesting but fascinating at the same time where it's actually come.
It's really taken on legs and grown into a different animal. And I know that fairly recently, as we're recording this, you've announced at Vistry your development and ways that you're approaching the future of what construction needs to look like.
Yeah.
And you've been heavily involved in that, haven't you?
We have, and I'm really lucky to be at Vistry, where on, you know, a significant number of sites and developments where we've gone early on zero carbon, and, you know, the net zero carbon and regulated energy, bringing your dwelling emission rate down to zero. We're installing air source heat pumps on a large scale now, because, as I mentioned earlier, it's our client requirement to want to future-proof those homes. So at Vistry, we are going early, and it's helping us then learn lessons, understand these systems for when it does become, standard specification, we'll be in a really good place. And what we're doing in my team is then capturing those lessons and making sure when it does come to standard spec, we have the right technical briefs, the right instructions, the right, supply chain, and the right, customer literature really to help us make sure that we can accelerate this as fast as possible. And that's what our team does, is capture those lessons learned. And, we'll look at all new products and developments that are coming to the marketplace, and then bring them into the our specification. But what we've got as well is we've got our Vistry Innovation Centre, where groundbreaking products, perhaps that aren't in our current specification, even where we're doing zero carbon homes, that's coming in as well. So we're looking at that, and we've got an innovation centre at our factory, our big facility in East Midlands, our Vistry Works facility in East Midlands. And that's really going to be the honeypot for us to do further research on as well.
That's exciting. Can you talk about any of these groundbreaking things, or am I going to be breaking NDAs and all of those things by asking you those sensitive questions?
There's a few NDAs, but I don't think I'll be told off if I talk about some of them, especially if it's high level.
Great, yeah.
We've got certain alternatives to heat pumps. So where we've got perhaps a hot water cylinder, but that is the heat pump to do the hot water.
Yep.
But that's then supported by, I suppose, infrared systems, like heating systems that hide behind the plasterboard, for example, and will heat the room via infrared, not convection. But if that's then supported by solar panels, and then you're ensuring that the carbon emissions are low, but your energy bills are low as well.
Okay.
We've got systems that support our timber frame offering. So we've obviously got a large timber frame offering now at Vistry, and we're looking at systems to support this from a modern methods of construction point of view, speed of build. So we're looking at brick slips and brick systems that will meet planning requirements, but also help with speed of build. The average age of bricklayers isn't getting any younger. I think it's around mid-50s now.
Is it really that old?
I think it's around that.
Is that because there's no one coming into the industry, or there's a skill shortage at the younger end, or is that because people start as a bricklayer and then they go 2-3 years in and think, oh no, actually I'm going to do what Jack did and go to university and go and do something different?
I think it's a bit of everything, really. I think there's more homes being built, but there's just a lack of bricklayers coming through, whether they want to work on a muddy, cold building site. I think that what they need to realise, if you are young and you are an aspiring bricklayer, you get paid quite a lot of money now to be a bricklayer. I've heard of some, really lucrative bricklayers in terms of what they're making on site.
Give me an idea of how much that will be.
Oh, I've heard up to £800 per 1,000 bricks. So I've heard stories where it's £1 a brick. I don't know how true that is.
Okay.
But if every brick that they lay, it's £1.
And how much would a good bricklayer, lay in a day?
Depends on the complexity of the home, but you could easily be doing 700 to 800 bricks a day. And then you've got your block work as well, and you'll have your insulation to put in. Yeah. So you can earn quite a lot of money by being a bricklayer.
More than £500 a day then is what you're saying that a good bricklayer can earn a day.
Once you're fully qualified and you've got your business behind you.
And you're quick.
And you're quick. Not just quick, but I have to be to a decent quality standard. But yes, that's absolutely
impressive. So going back to the innovation element, sorry, I sidetracked you slightly.
Fine. Yeah, so we're offering. We're looking at different systems. So brick slip systems, which obviously will de-skill the industry and take pressure off traditional trades, but obviously then meet planning requirements because you've still got that brick facade look. We've got a roof, which is a traditional roof system tiling. Well, at least it looks like a traditional roof tiling system. However, the whole roof came on one pallet of materials, and that includes the solar panels as well. It's lightweight, which again will support the speed of build because you can build your roof on the ground, and then lift it into place with the crane that's on site to do your timber frame.
So just kind of going back to this concept that you're talking about of roof coming on a pallet, are you talking kind of the IKEA principle of a flat pack roof because it comes on a pallet, it's not assembled, and then you get it out of the box, so to speak, put it on the floor, assemble it on the floor, hook it to a crane, and plonk it on top of a
So it's
house.
just the roof covering. So the tiles, the verge, the solar panels,
Yes.
all came on one pallet of
Okay.
materials.
Not the structure of the roof,
Not the roof trusses themselves.
Okay.
But we are looking at certain aspects around that as well.
Okay.
Can't go into that because that is NDA.
Okay.
But the actual covering itself, what that will do is speed up the construction process by making sure that that crane that's on site to do the timber frame is capable then of lifting that structure, because it's not 4 or 5 tons, it's less than a ton. We've got a 40-ton crane on site that will be able to lift that into place rather than needing a 100-ton crane on site.
Okay.
So you're speeding up that process.
So I'm thinking now, I'm listening to this podcast and I'm wondering, I understand how tiles sit on a roof and it needs to sit on a structure, but how am I getting tiles and solar panels coming on a crate and then them being assembled? What are they going to be assembled and attached to before it then goes on the structure of the roof? How does that happen?
So all we're doing is where you'd have your roof trusses, they'd be fixed on the ground floor on the slab. Then you'd put your felt and batten over the top as you would with a traditional roof, and then you put these, I suppose, what we're calling a galvanized steel metal profile tile, but it's larger format, that will then be put on the battens themselves. And then you integrate your PV panels, which are the same profile, that goes into it, and it integrates really nicely, seamlessly, and you can finish that roof on the ground. Then again, it's a lot faster. It'd be less embodied carbon because you're taking lorries off the roads. You know, where you probably need 5 to 6 pallets of material for your roof, you're down to 1 pallet, if that. So it's making sure that we think about these innovative technologies and we bring them in, because it will help us ensure we're adding that value, but at the same time speeding the process up. So where we've got a high sales rate or pre-sold homes on our sites, we're building fast to meet the demand.
So if I'm a small to medium-sized builder and I'm thinking, right, well, this is great for the big boys because these guys are Vistry and they've got tons of money and they've got companies falling over themselves to want to work with them, but I've not got that for me. What 3 principles can you give that will help them to reduce carbon, speed up the way that they build, or make their business more efficient or effective in terms of building good quality units for their customer base, just based on your experience?
We probably do have the benefit of being that large house builder, which gives us the ability to trial technologies and products at that lower risk. So it's really trying to learn from where it's already been done. So, review case studies, have a look at where it's being done. It's for us as responsible developers to then cascade that knowledge. I think it's for us as responsible developers to bring the rest of the industry along with us, with the SMEs, to make sure that they are learning lessons fast. For example, we'll work with the Future Homes Hub to do CPDs on certain areas to make sure that we are letting this knowledge out. We need to make sure that we're collaborating in that way to bring the rest of the industry along with us, so they're learning lessons fast too. But there'll be plenty of, I suppose, processes and areas where we can learn from others as well, whether that's small or medium-sized house builders.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But what I've heard from this first point here is that you're saying, look, we are doing the risky bits because we are different from what you are, and you can come and you can learn the lessons that we've learned from those risky bits.
Absolutely.
Yeah? And so that's why you got that innovation center.
Yeah.
So the invitation then would be, come and see. Is it open to everybody?
It is. I mean, we've had an influx recently, but we're going to be putting like a schedule together where everyone's, I don't think we'll turn anybody away from the innovation center, and they can come and have a look at all these innovative products. It's only a small 3-bedroom semi-detached home. However, it packs a punch. There's quite a lot of stuff in there that tackles whether it's overheating We've got products in there that will tackle overheating and cooling. We've got passive house products in there to have a look at how far we can push our fabric. We've got alternative heating systems in there that will take us away from fossil fuel heating systems. We've got sustainable materials in there that will really bring down our embodied carbon. We've got MMC in there as well, so things like prefabricated utility cupboards. All this new technology that we're going to be using has to go somewhere within that home. So we're putting it in a place which is efficient for space.
And I think that that's awesome. That's a great place for people to come and view that. So I would say that that would be tip number one: come to the innovation, and come and ask questions and come and learn from the variety of technology that's out there and variety of approaches that we've had. So I'd say that sounds like to me lesson number one or invitation number one. Do you have another two kind of principles or points that you can give?
Our second invitation then would be come to our sites where we're doing 300 zero carbon homes, regulated energy. So where we've got our dwelling emission rate in SAP down to zero.
Yeah.
You've worked on some of them with us, Darren. We've got a site in Kenilworth where we're doing that. And we've got other sites where we are pushing boundaries. So again, that would be another invitation when, we can schedule that in as well.
So people then that are small to medium builders, they can reach out to someone in Vistry to come and look at and be around those sites?
Yes, I mean, obviously subject to timings and things, but we'll be running visits where we'll make sure, as part of the Future Homes Hub or HBF or FMB, we'll make sure that we can put these and schedule these visits in.
Great, fantastic. And do you have a third principle, a third thought, or maybe third invitation?
I don't know about an invitation. I think we've got two good ones there.
They're very good. They're very good. I mean, and I would just say that they are super valuable, in terms of those two invitations and what's on offer. I don't think that has been very widely publicized, and I don't think that the small to medium sized builders appreciate the value that they can gain from learning from the path that you've already gone on and the things that are available through Vistry. So yeah, very, very valuable, those two things.
I think the third one would be just check out the Future Homes Hub website, where we've got lots of case studies, not just the likes of Vistry, but other large house builders as well. And it's a case of us trying to then reach out to these SMEs who make up most of the market and ensure that they're brought along as well and that they're up to date with building regulations. Recently, myself and Vistry and Bellway did a CPD on overheating, and that was really aimed at SMEs, just to see the problems that builders are having, but these are the solutions that we're finding too. So it's a case of just, trying to reach out to the industry who's trying to also work with SMEs as well.
So maybe the pun is intended, actually. Overheating is a hot topic at the moment, and I think it will be for a while. What would you say has been your biggest challenge as a house builder overcoming this? And what would you say has been the most beneficial perspective that you can view that challenge from?
I think, so before I start, I think what part of the building regulations is needed now. We've got higher levels of insulation, better air tightness. We need to make sure we're ventilating right. We need to make sure we're sorting out overheating in the summer. Homes will become warmer if we've not got the right solutions in place. So it's definitely needed. I think the challenges we've had is how it impacts other parts of the building regulations. So whether that's Part L, ensuring that you've got the right G values in your glass, whether it's Part F, you've got the right ventilation solutions, whether it's Part K and issues around falling out of windows. So putting guardrails in has been a big challenge. Part B as well. So again, that fire escape windows, making sure that we've factored all that in. And noise issues. So noise issues on site has been a big one as well. So if you can't open your windows as a means to remove excess heat, because it's noisy outside, what are the solutions in place? And it's really all of it trying to do it whilst moving away or not really thinking too much about air conditioning and thermal comfort cooling. It's designing a home that will just stay cool.
So that's the challenge, right? Is the example that I give to people is you pull one lever and then you can see the other levers moving, but then there's other levers that you haven't considered that are also moving, that are affecting the result of where you're trying to get to.
Absolutely. And whilst we're all learning in at pace, that happens quite a lot. Those unintended consequences that we're finding out. And what I would say about the industry on this, we are collaborating. We see it as an issue. We see it as a a problem trying to navigate through Part L, but we've collaborated really well, and we've highlighted these problems through the Future Homes Hub, through HBF, through NHBC, and it's really helped that collaboration to try and get over these problems around the approved document.
So you're saying that that's the place for people to approach this from. The perspective is collaboration as opposed to isolation to solve.
Absolutely, but we're all building homes. All the house builders are building homes. We're seeing similar issues. We face the same challenges. So if we can collaborate in terms of showing how we've got around it, or what solutions are out there, or what we can do in terms of technical guidance, I think that's what we've done, because it's a short space of time frame. Trying to get Part O, which is a new regulation. It's a short space of time frame to get right, and we've had to collaborate. It's forced us down that route, but for the right reasons.
That's good. Well, Jack, I think with the idea of collaboration ringing in our ears, we're able to go now to the segment called the Demolition Zone.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Hello and welcome back. We are now in the Demolition Zone with Jack Brayhaw. Jack, you have created this thing here that resembles a Jenga tower, but then has got a roof on it.
Yeah, I've probably done too much Jenga with the kids in the past, to be fair, but I thought I'd make it a bit thinner as we go further up, so it becomes a bit less flimsy and I can knock it over easy enough.
I love that. So Jack, this represents a myth that we're going to discuss now in the Demolition Zone. Is those people that regularly watch the podcast will understand that the Demolition Zone is a place where we destroy myths and misconceptions. So what does this tower Jenga thing represent?
I think I just want to get across to the young ones coming through, whether it's at A levels or even before, that university is a great way of learning, and it's great to get those qualifications, and they are much needed in the in a professional context. But do not overlook apprenticeships, trainee programs, sponsored degrees. 9,000 plus per year now to go to university. When I was going, it was 3,000, which I thought was a lot. It took me a long time to pay that student loan back, and it does hang over you. If you can get a sponsored degree, or you can do extra learning whilst being in a business, and then having that, that industry learning, which you'll find much more valuable than, going to university and learning from textbooks. I think if you can go down that route, there's plenty available. Vistry have some. I know other house builders do too. I would really urge that you go down that route, because you're learning and you do not have that debt hanging over you as well. And that would be my misconception, really, is that you have to go to university straight away after A levels. Just have a little look elsewhere to see if there's any other thing you can do whilst also going to university, but maybe just try a different route, really. And that would be my advice more than anything.
Great. Wonderful. Jack, destroy the myth. With a push of the hand, It falls down. Love it.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Just on that topic, actually, Jack, I'm thinking that you have said, because Vistry have got other options that people can have in order to get into the industry, and we can put a link down in the comments section of the podcast. But just, can you talk around some of the things that Vistry actually do have on offer, and how someone may be able to approach it? Because I think sometimes it's really good to get advice from someone, but I think that the best advice is pointed towards do this, or go here, or speak to this person, or send an email there. Can you give any suggestions of what someone can actually do now that they've heard that?
Absolutely. We've got our careers website, so it's the Vistry careers website. You could Google it, or we'll put a link in the below. And really that breaks down all different types of, I suppose, routes there is to your career. So whether that's site management, trades, your carpenters, your electricians, your bricklayers, or whether it's, predominantly more, that professional lead, whether it's, commercial based, quantity surveying, technical. We have training programs for all these areas, for all the different disciplines that you get within the house building industry. And also graduate training programs as well. So we do things like sponsored degrees, and we've done them before in the past. But then we have, your graduate programs. So once you do graduate, you'll go onto a program to accelerate your development within the business and go through the areas that do interest you as well.
I know that you've spoken a lot about the younger people coming through, but what about someone that maybe is in a similar position to you, that they've gone down a track and their other half has come to them and said, look, we're really happy that we're pregnant and we're having a child, and you're like, oh no, I want to do this, but I feel stuck here. What advice would you give them? Or is there anything within your circle of influence that you may be able to point them to as a guide for them to get into do something that they really love instead of stuck in something that they really are not interested in doing?
Just plan, plan it out, what you want to do, visualize what you want to do, put steps in place as to where you want to get, and don't be scared to take risks. I mean, that's what I did, take risks, move away. If it means, moving away from the town that you was born in and that where your family live, you may have to do that, which I did. So it's about taking certain risks. Don't be scared and trust yourself and believe in yourself that you can get to where you want to be. So it's, that inner belief is what you need.
Love that. Good. Jack, is there anything that we have not discussed that you think, I wish that Darren or the world would understand this?
I think if anything, really, there's many problems, or there's perceived problems within the house building sector. There's problems around ensuring we build to energy efficiency. There's skill shortages. There's issues around what we deem as quality issues, and making sure we can stay on top of that. But really, the main area for me is ensuring that we have enough housing supply in the UK. Everybody deserves a decent home. And I think it's for us house builders and, our role in Vistry is to really push that message that we need more decent homes in the UK. We need to cross-party government collaboration to bring more homes into the country. Not just homes, but homes that are energy efficient and, tackle fuel poverty. That's really important, I think, is that we need to get that message across, and that has to be the end vision, really, is having enough housing in the country for everybody.
That's great. I really agree with what you've said there. Yeah, I really do. That's fantastic. Jack, it's been great having you here on the podcast. I think that there's going to be lots of people that have taken away really useful insights that you've given. So thanks for sharing those insights. But just a last question as we leave is, what's the one thing that you wish that you would have done back when you were younger that you didn't do? If there was one thing, if you could just go back and tell your former self one thing, just do that, what would it be?
I was going to joke then, Darren, but I was saying invest in Bitcoin or something like that. But
I mean, that would have done really well, right?
Yeah, I think if anything, just have more belief, more confidence, believe in yourself. Just have that confidence that you and that positivity that you'll get to where you want to be. Don't worry as much. Stop worrying about things. Just have a bit more positivity and belief in yourself.
Thank you. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Darren. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like you to do me a favor, and I don't mean here just to ask you to subscribe and to follow, but what I'd really like you to do is to share this podcast with as many people as you think would benefit from it. I would love to maintain the quality of people that are joining me on this podcast, and so in order for me to do that, I really need your help. It could be somebody that's looking to get into an industry, but they're not quite sure what industry they want to get into. Maybe it's a teenager
that is just finishing their GCSEs or starting A-levels. Maybe it's somebody that's doing an English degree at university but is not quite sure what they want to do with that degree. So I invite you just to share this podcast with as many people that you know so that we can grow this community, so that we can maintain the quality, engaging conversations that we're having together. Thank you for your help.